Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter Mankowski, and I would like to provide you with some insights about something that I've been working on for almost a decade, which is a blend of genuine human memories plus artificial intelligence fusion. We call it new dimensions of perception. Uh, and I know the time is precious. I don't mean to rush through it, but you're more than welcome to interrupt me or reach out to me after. There's lots of ground to cover. A little bit about me. I started my career with Arwa Hospital Heart Institute. I did some research there, and then I went to US. I had the AI breast cancer detection startup. After that, my 2 years at Silicon Valley, Neuro AI, loosely associated with Elon Musk. Uh, and then I had my own startup, Novella Neuro, for the neurological implants. I missed Waterloo so much, sold my business, and recently I came back. I'm a co-founder and vice president of Accelerated Systems here in Waterloo. So that's a little bit about me. Why? Why did I pick this topic? I don't know whether it's a curse or blessing, but I have a family member who has a severe mental disability, and I decided to help this person, turning challenges into an opportunity. For those who are into data science, think about it. It's not that bad. I have access to data sets 24/7. The person lives with me. Isn't this the greatest? Uh, Other possibilities that currently I'm engaged in here in Canada and in Europe are memory loss and AI advances for dementia. I don't call it memory loss. I call it memory augmentation. And this should give a little bit of a secret away. I research and deploy techniques to temper or augment memories, mostly the bad ones. Uh, and if you think about neuroscience, I'm very familiar with it because of my credentials from multiple hospitals. Our brain like to be in equilibrium. Our brain would like to be right in the middle, not too happy, not too depressed. My family member and millions of people around the world lack that balance. So I said illusion of emotional balance. It is an illusion. Nobody is normal. Nobody is balanced. Don't think that you are normal. Nobody is. I decided to deploy my knowledge and basically use AI to play tricks with your neural nodes, thinking you are really very happy even though you are not. Uh, think about it. What do you see? Some of you will see a rabbit. The other, the other group will see a duck, a bird, and that is a perception of your vision. That's what I take advantage of, and I trick my early subjects, and I don't want to say patients because I'm not MD, the people that agree to participate into believing in certain things, even though they are not there. Uh, Another secret that I'm giving away, I have collaborators working with me that are non-English speaking, and that's what they sent me. How many of those 4x4s do you see? Do you see 7 or 5? It's all about perception. Nothing is real. And the last one, what do you see? Do you see two faces, two people facing each other, or a vase? So that's quite intriguing. You should look into it. How did I do it, and what is it that I'm actually doing part-time as a hobby to help my family member? I temper negative emotions and suicidal thoughts, and I use GP3, OpenAI. I have been with them since day number one. Uh, and I also use Imaginer by ND Labs. I use the FlowNet variant of it. Uh, like everybody else, 90% of you are using GAN. I use the ADA-in version of it for reasons that I will cover momentarily. And I create a perception of reality that tempers emotions. I will not put you to sleep. I will not force you to read it, but you can do it later on. For those that are not familiar with GAN, ADA-in, do yourself a favor, just Google it or look at my presentation earlier. I summarize it for you so it's more bearable later on. Ask why this particular GAN serves me very well. iTorch is a great tool for beginners. We use the residual blocks for up and down sampling add-on. So we basically do the down sampling and up sampling to extract certain features that other flavors don't. And then again, this is fundamental and rather very simple. We use that particular part for reasons that will become apparent momentarily. Just bear with me. What we do, we basically look at those people with suicidal thoughts, emotional distress, low confidence level, or drug addiction. I have those clients as well. To teach our models to recognize episodes, negative, cravings of doing drugs, suicidal thoughts, or outbursts of anger. We collect data and have been doing it for almost a decade now, hard to believe it, and we label them. Our classifier is very simple. 3 possible outcomes: positive, negative, or equilibrium. And we label them. Very time-consuming task to do it well. And let's call negative thoughts N unit. If you can recognize my family members' negative thoughts and they are labeled and fed through your classifier, you can augment it gradually. And we temper how severe those emotions are. Continue tempering just like GP3 is for everything else, is non-binary, is gradual. And just near the subconscious is make it to believe we stop. That sounds trivial, but trust me, it's not. So we combine AI engines with human-like neurological structure of classification inside of our brains. It's the symbiosis of both worlds. Observations. Today, we basically stimulate patients' or customers' brain and thoughts and emotions by feeding video images of something that they cherish, early childhood memories, videos or images of loved ones, anything that can calm them down and distract them from negative thoughts. In my case, I tested it on myself. For whatever reason, I love looking at those black and white pictures of my grandparents when I was less than 5 years old. I also have some old tapes of them walking around, talking to me, fiddling with garden, and my grandfather teaching me how to ride a bicycle without training wheels. I was 4. And when I watched that, I entered this make it to believe state where I'd like to believe this is for real. My brain talks itself into believing it is. I have a pre-recorded text that I convert into voice, and I listen to certain sequences of encouragement to distract me from stress. Environmental, it's fine too with colors, temperature, and light. The GAN approach to augment data on the fly is mandatory. And think about this, about the symbiotic approach to gradually augment the reality by replacing negative with positive. And that's how it's done. You recognize negativity and you flip it in non-binary sequence. Let's try that. We know what's coming, negative events. I have it recognize with my classifier, and I make it less severe very gently. Then we reach equilibrium so gently that the brain of the patient doesn't know the difference. It cannot be coarse. It has to be gradual over many samples and flip it into positive. So what is happening is somehow the patient gradually calms down, kind of under the weather state, and then we wait, and the last step is to basically bring the happiness back. I know it sounds like Coca-Cola commercial, but I have been doing it for a while, and it does function. That's all what you want. I don't really want to give you a university lecture, but I strongly encourage you to use Gym OpenAI, like I'm doing it every day after work when I pursue my personal interest. And I started long time ago with the card poll, the V0. It's 13 lines of code, and I repurposed this particular snippet of the code to work on positive and negative equilibrium sequencer. And that was way before GAN was researched or presented to the public. If you look at the cardboard stick, there will be a short sequence at the end. I have that. I had that for many years. You will see how the equilibrium is being reached temporarily, and that was the eureka moment for me to say, aha, I can help my loved ones. I know exactly how to do it. It's 13 lines of code. Do yourself a favor and do it. Are you guys ready? I apologize, but at that time I didn't know I will be sharing it with the public. It's not very good, but it gets the point across. Look at the cardboard stick, positive, negative, and equilibrium. That's all what you're trying to do. Okay? Next. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Now the conversion from negative to positive thoughts is like a picture on the right-hand side. If you think about it through images, talking heads, everybody knows talking heads now. You can really create an environment where people get distracted from anxiety or urgent need of doing drugs because you bring them mentally closer to equilibrium. The only problem that I encounter is that sometimes through my negligence, I come too close to memory replacement, the red zone. Legally, you cannot do this. You can augment somebody's feelings and the mental state, but not to replace it. And I urge you to treat it very seriously of not coming too close to the red zone. Know your data set very well. I do. I created it and I label everyone personally with few other scientists. So really know your data sets well. That is the secret of your success. And this is a simple explanation of how my GAN tries to classify whether those thoughts are positive, negative, or equilibrium. Have a look at that. Not knowing, training on the fly, and I basically did equal weight, so all three outcomes are easily visible. And I converge into positive, negative, and the equilibrium. How about that? Possible enhancements, the big GAN, I'm turning my attention to it now because it learns mapping from data to the latent space. That is of great interest for my neurological part and creating images on the fly that are in line with gradual augmentation of negative into positive. and I project them back into latent space. For those, just to humor you, your GAN, your generator and discriminator. And the generator, it's basically telling you those dots are a fish. And the discriminator says there's no fish. It's fake. The fish looks like this. If you strip all of the mumbo jumbo that I told you before, that's in essence what I'm doing. I'm just training outcomes as images, talking heads, voice, and light into that discriminator, teaching generator, and they basically collaborate to create the outcome I want. Landscape of similar ideas. There are many, and you can probably educate me on many startups or many companies that do something similar. I'm familiar with four that I'd like to cover very briefly. The first one is Neuralink with Elon Musk. I know them very well because I used to live in California. I never worked for Elon Musk, but I was part of the ecosystem in Silicon Valley that combined of maybe 20 or 30 neurological startups and enterprises loosely collaborating. I spent 2 years there. I never met Elon, but I've met his engineers and I'm very familiar with his work. You might want to check it out. InBrain, great company out of Europe. They are the darling of European Union, showered with funding from European Union government, and they do some very similar work compared to what I presented to you earlier. And the one that absolutely captivates my imagination, it's a homegrown Toronto-based brain institute. You have to check them out. It's a well-run program with support for startups, even pre-idea. This is two people have an idea, they have something on a napkin, they'd like to brainstorm it, but they don't have a place to go to or they need mentors. Brain Institute in Toronto, it's the place to go to. I used to be a member when I own and run Novella. I have to tell you, the support I got, technical and from medical perspective, is unparalleled. Those that are interested in any medical field, you must register and at least talk to Brain Institute in Toronto. It did help me tremendously. I will be resurfacing and maybe checking them a little closely, but right now I have a full-time job and this is just too time consuming, but work with them closely if you find this relevant. And the last point, there's one Waterloo startup that does the negative thoughts flip into positive. I know them very well, but I was asked to refrain from posting the name till a round of funding it closes. They insist that they don't need PR and they would prefer if they stay incognito. I think they will be closing in 2 weeks. So after that, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn and I tell you all about it. A great company and it's close. You don't have to travel to San Francisco to find out what is it that they are up to. I hope you find this educational, perhaps little entertaining, and think about my family member who suffers depression, suicidal thoughts, and sometimes this person cannot function for a number of days. The advent of GAN, artificial intelligence, and blending emotional state with what adversarial network has to offer is bringing comfort to millions of people. I'm not creating fake news. I'm not creating talking heads. I'm actually allowing people to function where traditional medication and traditional help fail them. I hope you enjoy it and please support me whichever way you can. I'm always available to either mentor others, collaborate, or exchange thoughts. I have no secrets. I'd like to help everybody close to our network to be successful.
I'm constantly blown away by how technology is empowering and helping society and humans. And I think the work that you've done here is a tremendous good to the community. Obviously, helping out somebody that is quite near and dear to your heart. So I wish them the best in. We all kind of have our own kind of demons and battles that we deal with every day.
One thing that one question that I got on LinkedIn that I'd like to tackle now. I did not have a chance to elaborate how do I collect data from humans, from neuroscience. So let me answer this very quickly. I have both techniques. One is a neurological surface probe, which is basically just attached with a little bit of glue to human skull, just like the regular helmet with many probes. Not very effective because it only looks at the surface, not doing very well with that. However, several patients also, in addition to their problems, they have epilepsy. So they have little tiny holes drilled with their skulls, and the needle-like probe goes inside, touching the surface or going inside of the brain tissue. I don't want you to be grossed out by it or think it's barbaric. It's actually the most effective way of scanning and the most effective way of stopping epilepsy in kids. In North America, the needle is 1/10 of a millimeter. So it's very thin. And thank you for the question from LinkedIn. I hope this answer your confusion about how did I collect the data. I hope you find this helpful. Another question, use the OpenAI gym. I realized that not too many of you are members and not too many of you are using the brand new tool from OpenAI. The gym is there for now free and allows you to model your gun with predefined blocks and layers, so you don't have to spend 5 months doing it for practice or becoming an expert without basically training it for months and months and months. Use the gym. If you don't know how and you need my help setting you up, I can do it offline. I want you to be successful quickly. Thanks. Great question.
As part of the data collection, how is the person's mood annotated?
For me, there are only, 3 outcomes. I annotated by equilibrium, which is most of the mental state, or negative and positive. Later on, I will have how severe those emotions are. But right now, the data label consists of only 3 of those outcomes.
How computationally intensive is it to train these models, Peter?
I think that, like everything else for GAN, we are talking about initial several months of training and then transfer learning later on for tweaks. But for me, last year, it was the entire summer of running it over and over and over again. So short answer, vary. You better have deep pockets and visit NVIDIA GPU store on many occasions. In fact, if any of you has family members, loved ones, or somebody in a circle of friends or influences that has any of those medical conditions, this is not my part-time job, but I somehow end up being the go-to guy with advice and contacts. I would be absolutely thrilled and delighted to help those. And when the Waterloo company finally allows me to talk about them publicly, they will be hiring. Like there's no tomorrow, and they will obviously need help and support and all of this. So stay in touch, because this topic is of paramount importance to me to do well, because I'm emotionally vested in it. And one more time, thank you so much for listening, and thank you for being gentle. I even got few likes. This is awesome.